let us know, has those emotions of rejection and abandonment, have they followed you, or how did they follow you in your adulthood?
I was in relationships that I shouldn't have been in, because I was yearning for that love from a father.
And you did share with me that it became a lot physical sometimes.
Yeah. Especially when we would argue, we would get into situations where it would be physical at times. My mom, she went through a lot of domestic abuse. I was still so little, but I know that there was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of abuse, to the point where my mom has plates in her jaw from the abuse.
Do you miss your dad?
Yeah.
Welcome to Daring Different, where we challenge stigma, celebrate healing, and embrace the courage to rise again. Merylize, thank you for being here. It is an honor to have you with us.
Very, very, I feel so grateful. It's so thankful that I get to be here, this beautiful podcast with you, and just to share my journey.
And you look good in your pink. That's good. Yeah. So, for viewers, they wouldn't understand, but I have to say, I'm not your third. And the first day I met you was, we were both speakers on that day for that event. And that was the first time I heard your story. And when I heard your story, the only thing that came into mind was, this lady is so powerful and she's so strong, because I could sense and see. We were all blown away. Everyone had the tissues, and this was like a Korean movie or something. Like, it was like an opera. I was like, okay. But we were so emotional that day. And the thing is, we connected with you. I could see the room went so silent, because there are a lot of women that connected to your story. And they surrounded you with so much love. And I know you were shaking your boots. You were shaking your boots. But your message was really one that touched a lot of women, especially during this month we're celebrating women. And I couldn't have anyone else, to grace this episode and Women's Day and Women's Month other than you. So I'm really grateful that you showed up here. And I just know that a lot of people would get to understand why you're here today. So are you happy to be here?
I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
All pleasure was mine. Now we'll jump right in. So, whenever you are definitely from South Africa.
Yes, yeah. In South Africa, for Cape Town.
And that's a beautiful place, by the way. I really wouldn't go on from the day, but yeah, we'll have to talk about that. So, take us really, I wanted to let us know who Merylize is, while going back into introducing us to the young Merylize, how you grew up, your background, and enlighten us about who you are.
I'm South African, as we just said. Back home, I am called a colored. So in South Africa, we have different mixed race. So we have black, we have white, and then there's us, the colored people. So, growing up, we always grew up around our own community of colored people. And, life wasn't always as what it looks like now. And like this glamorous woman sitting here today. it wasn't always like that. There was a lot of chaos in our life. Woo, yeah, there was a lot of chaos in our life. And my mom, she went through a lot of domestic abuse to the point when she was pregnant with me. She went through a dramatic abuse, traumatizing abuse while she was pregnant with me. And when they say you feel what your mom feels. So that connection, I felt everything that my mom feels till today. I still feel her emotions. When things are off, I feel it. There were situations where my auntie would run us back and tell me stories where she would have to literally grab my sister and I out of the house because there was such bad domestic violence. My sister endured more of the pain than what I did. I was still so little, but I know that there was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of abuse, to the point where my mom has plates in her jaw from the abuse. And my mom made the decision to move us out of South Africa. We migrated to New Zealand when I was 10 years old. And that's when all of that chaos of the abuse and the addiction from my father was put to an end.
And what age did you, see if you ever did at that age, did you notice that there was some sort of chaos going on? At what age were you? And obviously that would be in the presence of your dad and your mom. Can you expatiate and let us know if you could notice? Because earlier on, I do know a bit about your dad, and I do know that he did struggle with alcoholism.
Yeah.
So that was the main cause.
Yeah.
Did you know then, when we were young, that was what your father was struggling with?
Yeah, I knew that was something that he was struggling with, because there would be times where he would, like, literally every birthday, he would come and pick me up from my school. And bear in mind, I'm going to a private school, where he would come and pick me up completely drunk. And we would go to, like, the shack. I don't know what they call it here in Australia, but back home we call, like, Shabin House. I would go with my dad and we would sit there and he would have his drinks with his friends at the age of like 6, 7. It's crazy us talking, and it's like I can remember that now.
Yeah, you can. And was your mom at any point aware of this activities of your dad taking you to shacks and pubs? I think shacks will be pubs here. They the little pubs in Australia. But was that a normalized behavior within the culture?
No, my mom was not aware of me going with my dad. He would always come and pick me up, knowing that she did not know anything. My mom was always working. Mom was a midwife back home. She was always busy. So I can remember in those moments, she would have to literally drop everything that she's doing, come and pick me up, because someone has called and said, he's here, Merylize, you need to come and pick her up because he's so drunk.
How did that environment touch you, if you would?
I think it really impacted me, because when we moved to New Zealand in my teenage years, I felt like not having a father there. One minute I have my dad with me, and then the next I'm completely being pulled away from that relationship. Yes, he did wrong. He was an alcoholic from his addiction, but at the same time, he was an amazing dad to me. He wasn't a good partner and a good husband, but he was a good father to me. I got to experience the good side of him. But, moving to New Zealand, having to grow up, I think I rebelled. I rebelled a lot. I was so angry.
With what your mom went through, did at any point what steps did she take to protect herself and you at the time what she was enduring?
At the time, Mum doesn't talk much about the situation. She hid a lot of the conversations from me and what was going on. But as I got older, I would hear from like my aunties and family what really went on. And my mom she would always call the police. That was her way of escaping. And my auntie was there to come in and help us. Like I said in that incident where she would have to come in, take me and my sister out of the house while all the chaos was happening.
So I do understand because we come from a similar culture. And was there any understanding about the addiction of your dad at that point?
No.
Was there any intervention that was taken to assist Mom at the time or even the dad?
Definitely not. She was, pushed to the side. She was blamed a lot of the times. It's your fault. You're doing such and such. You need to, this is your husband. You can't leave your husband. You have to stay with your husband because you have 2 children. Who is going to want you with 2 children? That was support that she got. There was no, Maureen, let me take you out of this. There was none of that. I was always just blame.
And then you guys moved to use it.
Yeah.
When you moved to Israel, you moved to Little 10 Big.
Yeah.
How did that separation from dad into grandma and new place? You are younger, 10 years old, and in your country, a new system, new culture. So how did dad's absence, how did you resonate with the absence of your dad?
Like I said, I was so angry. I was so angry. There would be times where I wouldn't understand. I was so young. How do you understand when you're that little? I think growing up now, you get to put the pieces together and understand, it wasn't his fault. His addiction is so bad. It is so, so bad that he can't pull himself out. There needs to be intervention. There needs to be like loving support. But there isn't that for him.
Do you miss your dad?
Yeah.
Duncan. You still love them despite it. Yeah. Have you been able to have that conversation within like the closure and trying to understand why he wasn't able to meet with you guys as a fact?
At the time when we moved, his mom passed away. So the plan was, the plan was he was going to move after the funeral. But, I think him not being able to cope with these, he fell back into the addiction.
We did talk about your emotions and unresolved emotions with Dad and missing him in your adult life and still not having that understanding and closure. And so I did also notice, like, at that young age, you would have felt a lot of rejection coming from that experience and abandonment. So take us on how, as a young girl in a new country between 10 to 14, how that rejection played out throughout your teenage years in a new country.
I think moving to New Zealand, as it is, coming from a place of being a migrant, you have a whole different accent. You know, you were so different already. Having to try and fit in was very difficult. Having to meet new friends, you know, being a migrant, like I said before, it is very, very difficult. You know, children aren't as nice. Kids aren't as nice at that point. You know, luckily at that time, there was a few, you know, South African friends that you could kind of relate with and connect with. So I think that's where I started making my friendships with the same people from my background. Yeah.
Was there any particular specific experience during that time when you migrated at that early age that you could say, this, I can't shake this off my mind. This is what happened, and, you know, it didn't feel good, and maybe you blamed dad, or you just blamed that separation playing into what you were feeling at the time. Was there anything you experienced, even with the other kids or within that space, that you really liked, that really hurt?
I think when you're so young, you know, seeing kids come in with their mum and dad, you know, having fathers around, especially with like friendships that I made, you know, seeing that bond, I think that's when it hits a lot, when you start really being in environments when there's lots of family. I think that's when I started feeling really broken and not understanding anything. Bearing in mind, I'm only 10 years old.
Did you have closure?
No.
Being separated?
Never.
Today?
Till today.
You've not had closure?
Yeah.
So, obviously, at that tender age and going into your adulthood, you would not have necessarily understood the impact of rejection.
Yeah.
And abandonment. So let us know, has those emotions of rejection and abandonment, have they followed you, or how did they follow you in your adulthood?
It definitely did, because I met someone that made me go back into that little girl again, feeling all of those emotions of rejection and abandonment. I got into a relationship very young. At 18, I got into a serious relationship. In that time, it was beautiful, it was amazing. You know, when you first meet someone, you know, you fall in love with this person. You know, you think of, you know, long term. And then we both had our own dreams and our own journeys that we wanted to pursue. I moved to Melbourne, and he went and followed his dreams with rugby. He went and played overseas, and I got myself into an amazing, you know, job opportunity. I applied myself, and I got a beautiful apprenticeship in this boutique salon. That's where I could see I was going to start my career. You know, it was one of the top salons in Melbourne. People like Serena Williams would be coming in there, you know, getting their hair done. The owner of the store, she had so much experience. Everything that I wanted to do, I felt like I could have learnt from this lady. And 3 months into this apprenticeship, I found out that I was pregnant. And it felt like I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. I was afraid to tell my mom. Because obviously I had everything ahead of me. And then I did tell her. And her first response was, what are you going to do about your your job and your studies now. And I said, I have to leave it. I can't continue going further.
And with that, how has that affected you mentally? And how did that play in your personal life later on in life?
I definitely think I made the wrong decisions when it came to relationships. I was in relationships that I shouldn't have been in, because I was yearning for that love from a father.
Last time I did speak to you, you did mention that at 14 you started working.
Yeah.
Can you please let us take us into that experience and why you started working at such a young age?
Well, my mom had a lot of surgeries at the time, and financially we just weren't okay. She couldn't go and work, and at the time the government didn't really give much money, so I had to go and work at the age of 14. And I think in that time I just numbed everything. I just numbed the pain. I just numbed everything that I was feeling. I was very angry because I felt like I couldn't really enjoy my childhood. Now I have to grow up and be responsible for what's going on. And a teenager, you don't understand. You don't understand being put in that position.
What did you crave the most when you were young and you missed out because you were working, you had to jump into adulthood, you had to take the place as mum because mum had, complications with health. What did you miss really in that time?
I think I just miss being able to just be free as a child, just go and hang out with my girlfriends, do the things that kids would do after school, because after school I'd have to go and work.
No. And emotionally, with mum being down, would you say with mum being away, how would you say that that affected you emotionally, with your emotional development as a young girl?
With her being affected with all the injuries?
Yes.
It was really hard to understand. It was really hard to understand because I'm so used to her being mobile and this independent woman, doing everything for us. So having that turn around and now I'm responsible for that was really, really hard.
So you left from a young girl from Africa, South Africa, with a dad, being separated with a dad who had addiction. Now you moved 10 years old into a new place, new country, and still yet you have to navigate growing up by yourself because mom is sick. She has complications with health. And so literally you have to wear grown pants. You have to take care of yourself. So you're responsible. You carried so much. Did I get to play into your adulthood where you have to sacrifice and always do things by yourself and carry so much more than you have to?
Yeah, it really did. It definitely played in my older years. When I made the move to Melbourne, I moved by myself. Yes, my sister and her husband was living there, but I still moved by myself. I still applied myself with everything that I was doing by myself. I felt really alone at that point, making the move. Even when I found out that I was pregnant, I still felt alone. I didn't feel like I had the support that I needed.
Were you with your partner then? Did you have a partner? Were you guys together? Was it something serious? Did you have support in that? What was going through your mind when you turned down the promotion?
I was with the kid's father at the time. But he was away. He was traveling. He was, overseas following his dreams. So once again, I was left by myself.
And this is the partner whom you went through a lot with.
Yeah.
So, next chapter of your life, you've moved from Melbourne, pregnant, and you came to be with your partner.
No, I moved from Melbourne and I moved to Perth.
Yeah.
I came and lived with his family because he was in here. He was traveling. He came back to Australia. He lived in Sydney at the time, playing rugby over there. And I was with his family. His family was helping me through my journey. I think throughout my pregnancy and this journey through life, I had most of the support with them. They helped me raise my kids.
Yeah. But he was not with you at the time.
He was not present.
He wasn't present at the time. While you were with him, did you notice any red flags?
No, because I was so focused with my son. I was so young. I was trying to be the perfect mom. I was trying to be so present with him that I didn't even notice what he was doing. I think if I would feel an emotion, I would kind of suppress it because I'd have to focus on my child.
And then when he came back and you guys were together, can you describe and take us on the emotional journey? Like, what I want to take us to when you started noticing things had started changing in the relationship. Walk us through that. When was the first time things changed? And how did those things change?
There was a lot of infidelity in our relationship. There was a lot of him being narcissistic. There was a lot of just emotional and draining abuse constantly. When I would feel in my spirit, when I would know something is up, he would constantly turn it around and blame me or lie. Constantly. That's what our relationship was about. Every time I would try and, forgive him, things would be good, he would just fall back into the same pattern again.
Were you aware that the relationship you were in was toxic or was different and wasn't healthy? Was there any awareness from your end when you were in that?
When I was in it, no. If I look back now and I think about that girl, no. I think I was just so consumed with trying to keep us together for my child. I wanted things to work out because I had my child. I didn't want my son to grow up without a father in the house because of everything that I felt not having a father in the house.
It did not obviously start in turmoil. What attracted you to your partner then?
I think his personality was the biggest thing. I think we connected because we met through friends. So at that young age, you associate yourself a lot through friends. So that's where I think our connection started. Yeah.
And it blossomed into a full-blown relationship.
Yeah, I did.
And did you love him?
Yeah, I did.
And he loved you?
Well, of what I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did share with me that it became a lot physical sometimes.
Yeah. Especially when we would argue, we would get into situations where it would be physical at times.
Did you have any support in that relationship? What support did you rely on?
I think we relied a lot on support from our parents. But at the same time, I didn't talk about a lot of the things that was going on in our relationship. I would keep it very surface.
Why didn't you feel the need to open up? to share?
Because we told you you don't speak about what's going on in your household.
Culturally.
Mm.
Were you somehow trying to protect him?
Yeah. I was trying to protect him because I didn't want, the next person to tell me, you need to get out of it. I wanted to just stay in my bubble, try and fix it.
That must have been heavy.
Yeah.
Was he at least supportive in your family household with the union? Did you have any support from him emotionally, financially? Was there any support in that?
He did work, but he had a gambling addiction. So at the time, I wasn't aware, but now, with everything that I know, he had an addiction, a gambling addiction, definitely, because I was working as well, but I'd have to carry most of the responsibilities with our children and financially.
So would you say you were single then?
Yeah, I was. I was literally doing everything on my own, even though he was there. But I just wanted the comfort of knowing that we are here for our son. My son gets to experience his dad being in the home. I wasn't strong enough to pick myself up and be like, no, this is enough. I shouldn't be tolerating this. I deserve better.
How long were you in that relationship for?
We were together for 8 years
8 years.
before I decided to really be like, this is enough.
So what made you hold on for so long in those relationships? And what was the point where you felt, this is enough, I have to leave, or I have to make things change?
The reason why I held on for so long was because I think having, that my father, not be there for me, and now I have this relationship with this man. I didn't want my son to experience going through, going to visit his dad and then coming home to mom. I didn't want that for my children. And I'm such a family-orientated person. I always wanted to keep my family together.
Has there been any accountability from your ex-partner towards the experience you had with him?
No, there's no accountability. And I think what made me realize that this is enough is when he had another affair and he chose someone else over me. That's when I was like, no. Once a man can do that and tell you that they don't love you, that they don't want you, that's when you need to walk out. That's when I needed to walk out because I knew things were never, ever going to change.
Have you healed from that experience?
I think I'm healing. I'm definitely healing now. I think I am.
Are you at a point or a stage of forgiveness?
I think I'm still angry because even though he did all of that to me, he still tried to come back and change the script and tell me, I love you. I want my family back. I want to continue our relationship.
So what made you not consider that which you always wanted? You always wanted to have a family. You always wanted your kids to grow in a whole, what everyone will call a house that's whole. So what made you as a young girl at the time to choose not going back, not presenting what people or society calls a whole home? What made you reject going back?
Because he's disrespected me in so many ways. And I felt like I built this new home for me and my children. I couldn't put them through that pain again of reconnecting with their father being in our home again. Through all of the traumatic experience that I went through in that breakup, I couldn't allow myself to go back there again. I could not.
When you look at yourself now and you look at what you experienced in that chapter of your life, when you look at the Merylize then, What do you think the Merylize then was lacking to see? What was she looking for that made her take those decisions? Do you recognize yourself?
I think she was trying to have love from someone that just wasn't willing to give her the love that she needed.
What would be your biggest regret in that chapter?
Not walking out the first time.
It happened.
Once the infidelity and the physical abuse started and the emotional abuse started, not leaving then. And staying and enduring all that pain and that hurt for so long. And not listening to myself.
It's not easy. Definitely not. So thank you for really opening up that chapter. You know, we do resonate with most young women as ourselves. We're always looking for more.
Yeah.
We want to find ourselves, and that affects not only colored women, but women across the globe. So thank you for being that brave to opening up that side. But it's not only sad and sobby. That's a different chapter in your life. You're a whole new fiancé right now.
Yeah.
So let us know, take us on this journey, how you were able to leave a very traumatic experience, emotional abuse, physical abuse. How did you transition, and when did you know you were ready for something new? And how did you catch the something new?
Well, you know, there is social media now. So, you know, they slide in your DMs. So that's how it all started when I met my new partner now. I think entering into something new, especially when you come from something that was so hard and so toxic, trying to rebuild with someone new, having that trust is very, very difficult. But I love. I knew that I wanted to fall in love again. And for me, I obviously had my 2 children with me at the time. So if any man can love my children more than he loves me, then I know that that's the man for me. And the man that I'm with now, he loves, it's not even my children anymore, it's our children now.
That's correct. So he slid in your DMs.
He slid in my DMs.
Is there a time frame that you can tell us between your old chapter to when you felt like this was a new one? In terms of to get the concept of healing, did you have to like take time off to be like, you know what, I'm not going to date anyone, you know, I need time for myself. Did you ever take that? And what was that time? How did that look like for you?
I definitely did take that time out. I took about, I think, 3 years before I jumped into something really serious. Where I was just, I was rebelling because I was so angry. I was like, I'm going to be the baddest chick on this planet. I am going to live my life. I'm going to do what I want to do because I'm always putting someone else first. I'm not doing this anymore. I have done this. I've put other people before me, and it's just been thrown back in my face. So at this point, I worked out so hard. I really looked after myself. I was just in a space of I wanted to have fun. I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to experience because I felt like I was in a relationship with someone that didn't appreciate me. So in this moment, I kind of felt like, you know what? I'm going to do men just as dirty as what they do to us as women. That's honestly how I was feeling.
But then your story changed.
Yeah. And then my story changed. I think once you have enough of that lifestyle, it gets boring.
It does.
You can only live in that moment for a period of time, and that's not who I am. I'm not that girl.
Yeah, and you found faith as well.
Yeah.
You started rebuilding your relationship with God. And also, can you let us know, if someone was to ask you, what is the difference between now, you, the Merylize, in this relationship and the ones prior? What is that difference? How do you know that this is right for me?
This is right for me because I've never ever had anyone, love me or look after me the way that, my partner does now. He pushes me to be the best version of myself constantly. Even if I'm like, I can't do this, he's always in the back like, yes, you can. He's always there to guide me. He is the man, the leader that I know that I deserve and that I need.
Yeah. And he sure did put a ring on it.
He sure did.
I can see that. Looks good. Long thing. You're getting married. When was that? When did that happen? So let's check of that.
So literally a couple of months into our relationship, we had our son.
Yeah.
I think love in the air, flames are just sparkling everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that he's always told me from the beginning, from the time that he met me, that he wanted to have, more kids and we jumped on this journey together. 6 months into our relationship, he asked me to marry him.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so, your final thoughts, if you had to speak to another Merylize out there who is finding herself, looking for identity, looking for love, and is stuck in the wrong relationship, what would that advice be? What would be that food for thought that you would want to give that woman?
I would say listen to your intuition. Listen to your spirit. When something is telling you that this is not for you, listen to it. Don't continue to be in a relationship that is harming you emotionally, physically, just because maybe you have children together. Don't think because you have children together that this is what you need to endure, because it's not okay. You come first.
Yeah. And obviously, if they are alone, feeling alone, and they can't do it by themselves, reach out. A counselor. If anything is physical, you can call 000. Yeah, that's it. That's the number. Yeah. Yep. You can seek extensive help. There will be a lot of resources and things that you can do.
Yeah.
If you're in that situation, on our website and below Merylize's episode. So Merylize, I really want to thank you for coming on this month and on this episode and sharing your story with us. So yeah, on that note, we've heard from Merylize. So thank you, everyone. Remember to always share your truth and your voice. Merylize's story is one of resilience and is one of choosing and putting yourself first. But remember, you are only who you are when you invest and put yourself first. So on that note, from us at Daring Different, catch you in the next episode. Thank you. And if you want to know more about our beautiful guest, her social media and what she is up to will be on the website and on our YouTube channel. Until then, see you next time. Bye.